Welcome to Convocation 2020. My name is Amy Peterson, and I'll be your MC for this afternoon. I'm so delighted to be back at Benchmark. My daughter Julie is a 2011 graduate of the school, and I've had the pleasure serving in many roles here as well. I'm now leading the 50th Anniversary Celebration Committee, and I'm so happy because this school has had such a positive impact on our family, and I welcome the opportunity to come back and see the transformation in other families. Today's convocation marks a significant moment in our history. First, we are celebrating our 50th anniversary, honoring the founding of the school by Irene Gaskins in 1970. And as we plan to celebrate our rich history, we are also looking ahead to the next 50 years. How fitting that Benchmark has a new head of school to lead us forward. That person, Chris Hancock, is making history himself. He's only the third head of school we've had in 50 years, and he's the first head who is not a member of the Gaskins family. Today, we'll have a chance to get to know Mr. Hancock better through questions from our students, insights from those who know him well, and of course, from Mr. Hancock himself. He has dedicated a majority of his professional life to supporting children who learn differently. He began his career in 2003 at Eagle Hill School in Hardwick, Massachusetts, where he most recently served as assistant head of school for student life. Mr. Hancock has also served as director of development at the Rudolph Steiner School in New York City, director of development and alumni relations at the Sage School in Foxborough, Massachusetts, and assistant director of admissions and diversity coordinator at Cushing Academy in Ashburnham, Massachusetts. He holds a BA in economics from Haverford College and a master's degree in school leadership from the Harvard Graduate School of Education. He is currently pursuing a doctorate in educational leadership at the University of Pennsylvania Graduate School of Education. And now to get us started, let's watch a video about Mr. Hancock that announced his appointment as head of school.
I think when you're building the ability in kids to take chances, that has to be undergirded by warmth and by that same caring nature that these teachers and these faculty here clearly have. That opportunity to be a part of something that is so transformational in kids' lives is, I think, the most impressive component of what Benchmark does. I felt humbled when I was offered this role. I think to follow the legacy of such pioneering people like Irene and Rob Gaskins is an honor.
Benchmark is facing tremendous changes, and we're moving from a family-led school to a school that has a leader who is bringing different ideas, different experience.
We needed a dynamic leader that had a vision for what Benchmark could be in the future. We looked to use feedback from the Benchmark community to find the best fit. We started with 50 candidates. It really became clear that Chris was the right person for the role.
Chris was the right person for the job when we saw that he fully embraced our founder's mission for the school. But then he was also able to cast a vision for what Benchmark will look like in the next 50 years. He's a dynamic leader, he's a keen listener, and he really makes authentic connections.
Will you be at lunch?
I will be.
I'm excited about Chris joining Benchmark. I think he brings a level of enthusiasm and energy to the school.
You know, sometimes when you meet people who are looking at schools, you can see right away that it's a fit. And that's the way you can feel about Chris's engagement with Benchmark from the day he walked onto this campus. He comes into each day with a real pulse and a real energy. And I can see that this man cares deeply about children, and he's in a place that understands what that means.
What we are doing in the classrooms here, outside the classrooms here, are not about getting them through 8th grade. This is about a preparation for the next 50 years of their lives. People throw the idea around of thinking critically. How we engender some of that thinking helps them love the process of learning and understand themselves as learners, and that type of thinking serves them well far beyond Benchmark.
Benchmark's future is bright. If you look around the school now, it is loaded with the understanding of innovation.
We're poised to really move into the future, helping our students demonstrate their understanding and their learning in many, many different ways.
We feel comfortable with someone like Chris at the helm to lead us into the next generation of thinking.
The teachers here are expecting that things are going to continually move in a way that addresses students' needs. He is going to find that to be a place of inspiration in his work.
Any sort of change in a school environment can be exciting the next half of a century and what we can do is, in a word, inspirational.
Now we're going to hear from someone who knows Chris well, Dr. P.J. McDonald of Eagle Hill School in Massachusetts, where Chris served before coming to Benchmark. Mr. Hancock began his career at Eagle Hill in 2003, and Dr. McDonald has been a mentor to and cheerleader for him ever since. Dr. McDonald has recorded some thoughts about Chris that he'd like to share with us. Let's hear from him now.
Greetings from Eagle Hill School in Hardwick, Massachusetts. My name is Dr. P.J. McDonald, and for the last 28 years I've had the privilege and pleasure of leading this great school. First, let me congratulate the Benchmark community for 50 remarkable years of serving students with diverse learning abilities. For those of you who don't know, Eagle Hill School is the high school version and the boarding school version of Benchmark School, as we have those same remarkable young minds in our hallways that are in yours. I promise you that as you celebrate this coming year and perhaps the year after, given all the events that have to happen, that there will be no better feeling of pride and permanence and promise in your school, just as there were ours. I'd also like to express my congratulations to the Benchmark Head of School Search Committee. A job well done in selecting Christopher Hancock. Interestingly, all of my calls with the members of the search committee went fairly similarly. A discussion of Chris's experience and performance, which were excellent. A discussion of his academic pedigree, Haverford, Harvard, UPenn, extremely impressive. And then a discussion, of course, of his character and his integrity, which are unsurpassed. But then every single conversation with the search committee came down to the final question, which is he too good to be true? Let me give you the short answer. He is that good, and his best days are ahead of him. Now, before we put him in the Head of School Hall of Fame here, especially on his first day of classes at Benchmark, let's also acknowledge that he's far from perfect and has a lot to learn in this new role. That's not a criticism of Chris, but it's the reality that when you sit in this chair, it takes time to manage and understand the complexities of working with adults and students and families, especially in this difficult time as you lead a school. And Chris will do it as well as anyone, right from the start. As many of you know, Chris had 3 different stints with me at Eagle Hill. He came in as a young whippersnapper right out of college and ran weekend and wrote some grants. After a brief stint away, he came back for 4 years, from 2005 to 2009 as my director of development. And we spent a lot of time on the road. And as you can imagine, when you're on the road, you can learn an awful lot about someone. And I learned a lot about Chris Hancock. And I'd like to share with you a couple of those things that I learned. First, we played a lot of golf, a lot of donor golf together, and there was nobody, and I mean nobody, that had better golf gear than Chris Hancock. He was literally Ricky Fowler before Ricky Fowler. I think today's kids would call him drippy. Well, I can tell you that he also tried to pull off that Ricky Fowler cheesy mustache at one point. Didn't work so well, but he tried. And I can also tell you that the similarities between Ricky and Chris Hancock as far as golf go ends there. I also learned that Chris was one of the most frugal people I've ever met. Not cheap, just frugal. And he came by that honestly with his grandfather Gordy, who apparently was legendary in this category. And I will tell you, it's also one of the things that might help Benchmark the most when it's budget time, because Chris understands and values the meaning of a dollar. But there are other things, more serious things, that I learned about Chris Hancock during our 4 years together. And I can sum them up in one simple anecdote. 8 years ago, we had a tragedy at Eagle Hill. Out of the blue, rather suddenly, our assistant head of school, Ron Baglio, my friend, passed away unexpectedly at the age of 42 years old. And to complicate matters, his wife Erin worked here as an administrator, and they had 4 children under the age of 5 years old. It was an extremely difficult and dark time at Eagle Hill. So as the dust settled and I got my bearings, I knew that there was only one person that could help us manage through this difficult time. So I picked up the phone and I called Chris at his school in New York City, and I asked him to meet me at my son's baseball game. I brought 2 chairs, I sat in one, and when Chris came, he sat in the other, neither of us looking at each other, and said hello. I got right down to brass tacks, and I told him that I needed him to come back and help us work through this difficult time. He didn't ask questions, he didn't ask details, he didn't ask compensation. He just simply said, I'm all in. And during this time, for Benchmark and all of us as schools, I can't think of a better person to lead through a pandemic and beyond. Chris comes by these qualities very honestly. He comes from the wonderful town of Gardner, Massachusetts. His father, a high school principal and longtime teacher, also a very accomplished coach at both the high school and the college level. His mother, Rosemary, unbelievable person, tells it like it is, a dental hygienist in town. And his sister, Mary J., a very accomplished teacher in her own right. And of course, the newest addition of Erica in his life has bettered him more than he'll ever know. And she, being an accomplished scholar and an accomplished college swimmer, perhaps is the only person that I know that will have the fortitude to tell him it's finally time to put down those Ricky Fowler granules and put a few more Benjamins in his pocket. I congratulate you, Christopher, and I congratulate the Benchmark community for such an excellent choice. I wish you well, Godspeed, and happy 50th.
Good afternoon. My name is Ben Rogers, and I'm the chairman of the Board of Trustees here at Benchmark. It is a pleasure to be with you. When I woke up this morning and I drove over to Benchmark campus, I couldn't help but think of the many memories I made here. As a former student of Benchmark and a proud graduate, I remember being nervous about my first JV soccer match on Mr. Reichert's team when I was in 4th grade. I wore my jersey to school that day because I was so proud to be a part of it. I remember shivering in Dr. McDonald's homeroom and language arts class. Does he still like the room at 10 degrees below zero? I remember playing capture the flag, swimming, doing the hourglass high ropes challenge and zip line at Benchmark summer camp. I remember singing in front of my class, auditioning for the school's musical. I am not a gifted singer, and I was terrified to be in front of people all alone. You won't be surprised to learn that I didn't get the lead role in either of the musicals that I was in. I remember winning and losing, getting awards, making mistakes, have a difficult time sitting still, and wishing I could have gym class for 2 hours of every day. My experience at Benchmark forever shaped me as a student and a lifelong learner, but also as a person, a citizen, and a leader. Never could I have imagined that one day I would be asked to join Benchmark's Board of Trustees and then become chair a few years later. For those students listening and who may not know exactly what the Board of Trustees is or what they do, the board is a group of people, about 15 adults who have many different skills and backgrounds, who gather together as a group and help manage the finances of the organization, donate to the school, and think strategically about what Benchmark will provide its students in the future. While the people on the Board of Trustees are very different from each other, they have one common bond, a love of Benchmark. One of the most important things a board of directors does is hire the head of school. I had the privilege of leading the search committee in our quest to find our next leader. Over the past 50 years, Benchmark has been led by 2 outstanding educators, Irene Gaskins and Rob Gaskins. As the previous video messages have described, Choosing the next leader of Benchmark is a very involved process and crucial to the future success of the school. Before I formally congratulate our third head of school, I want to tell you one more thing I realized about Mr. Hancock. As I learned more and more about his growing family, it occurred to me that Mr. Hancock is not the most gifted person in his family. Please know that our head of school is extremely fortunate to have his fiancée, Miss Erica Meisner, joining his family, a Rhodes Scholar finalist and a world-class swimmer among her many accomplishments. The Benchmark community is so fortunate to have her a part of our school family. To be completely fair though, Mr. Hancock is definitely smarter than his adorable new puppy, Winnie. Without further ado, please join me in congratulating Benchmark's third head of school, Chris Hancock.
Students, fellow faculty, staff members, parents, Amy, Ben, the Board of Trustees, our founder, Dr. Irene Gaskins, past head, Dr. Rob Gaskins, our interim head last year, Ralph Wales, alumni and alumni parents, dear friends, and of course, my family. It is an honor to stand here before you today to share the fellowship of the moment with those here in the building and with those of you streaming at home. There is so much I could say about everything people shared today, but we don't really have enough time for that. I will admit, however, it all does sound accurate, and sadly, even the parts about my overdressed and underskilled golf game. I am humbled to begin serving in this role and to carry forward the legacies of Irene and Rob Gaskins. It is not lost on me that the last 50 years of service to students who learn differently that they've dedicated in the lives that they've changed. This school they've built through 5 decades, born from a simple dream in a church basement, and now as we stand, as vibrant as ever. We should not be surprised, however. It was as close to inevitability as there could be for a small school. As many schools over that same time opened with promise and then closed in a flutter, in the years to follow, Benchmark had a secret behind its visionary leadership. Legions of dedicated faculty and staff. Many of the staff serving students today, in fact, have served this community for 25, 30, 40, 47 years. It's that same staff, their same enduring spirit, that allowed the Benchmark education to be reimagined during this pandemic in order to open safely last week for our students and successfully complete our first days of in-person instruction. It's that same staff that continually weaves research-based practices with an innovative mindset. They are as much a part of this moment of transition as anyone, and are a living reminder of the indelible strength of this school, a strength we will certainly continue to build upon in the next 50 years. This brings me to the first of my 3 messages today. The first is to the students. Thank your teachers. Today, often. Teachers have the rare power to influence growing children in ways that sometimes have an immediate, tangible effect. You may feel it right away, like an aha moment in that math class, or reading, or the joy of being helped to complete the build of a robot. But on many more occasions, however, it may be years before the impact of a singular moment, a gesture, a statement, or a deed takes root and you come to realize the impact it had on you. The beauty is that when you grow into adults and you realize that impact, you carry an intimate relationship with that profound moment that nobody else shares. It's personal, it's unique, it's vivid. Every adult watching today, I'm sure, can think back to their own experiences when a teacher or a mentor did or said something that changed how they engaged the world each day. Those moments can come intentionally or via happenstance. It could have been when you witnessed a selfless act by a teacher that shaped your understanding of empathy, or a simple positive comment about an assignment you worked hard to complete that planted that seed of confidence, which eventually germinated into an ability to tackle any previously unimaginable challenge. For me, it was a fourth grade teacher named Mr. Kiosis. He was energetic, funny, and fully committed to my learning experience. He knew my motivations for doing well in school were driven solely at the time by my desire to please others. They were always extrinsically motivated. I learned for others, not myself, until he eventually unearthed what would become a lifelong curiosity of mine: astronomy. For those little ones watching, or those may not know, astronomy is a study of space, the stars, planets in the sky. Wanting to see me committed to something for reasons other than pleasing people, he set up telescopes on the Great Lawn at a nearby community college every Saturday night. Or maybe it was once a month. My memory isn't quite that good. But for every time we went out there all year long, I found something I could call my own, and those Saturday nights could not come fast enough. I was hooked. When I finished my fourth grade year, he continued to mail me a letter very often, almost each month, to check in. And yes, believe it or not, email did not exist when I was a kid. He would include star charts for the upcoming Saturday evenings. We stayed in communication over the years leading up to my high school graduation, when he left me with a congratulatory note. It said, "Always look up." Beyond my constant fascination with the stars in the sky, this phrase's literal and figurative meanings continue to influence who I am. Since Mr. Kiosis' wise words, I have tried to perpetually be optimistic and hold an unflagging reflex in the evening to look up. Each night, the stars shine light through my bedroom window, and I stare at them in wonderment simply because of a single teacher's commitment to me when I was 10 years old. I see this man in my deeds and every time I work with students. It was life-changing. So again, students, thank your teachers. My second message is to my family, and really by extension to the students again. Love and honor your family. After all, what is Benchmark if not family? Family helps shape your character as much as your teachers. My mom is the most hardworking, fiercest woman I know. She's taught me to stand by my convictions and speak truth to power, all while making time to whip up a delicious Polish pancake. My younger sister is an inspiration in her own right, working tirelessly as a fourth grade special education teacher while raising two beautiful young girls. She has shown me exactly what giving one's all really means. My father, who you heard earlier, is a retired math teacher and administrator and women's college basketball coach, showed me how to work with others, the importance of a sacrifice bunt, to finish what you begin, and to do it all with kindness in your heart. My fiance, Erica, puts a smile on my face every day, no matter how difficult. She's my best friend and someone I could not begin this journey at Benchmark without. I would not be here without these people in my family and my extended family by right. My point is this, students. You will be successful here and beyond. You're in the right place at exactly the right time, but you cannot do it alone. Ask for help and lean on your loved ones. That's how you get where you want to go. Through your family. They love you deeply. Will be there always. After all, what is Benchmark if not family? What is Benchmark if not love? Oh, and my father taught me also to root for the Red Sox and the Bruins and the Celtics and the Patriots, which brings me to my third and final point this afternoon. This one to the broader Benchmark community. No, it's not to gloat that the Celtics beat your Sixers a couple weeks ago and are still alive in the Eastern Conference Finals. Like those franchises, however, and some of your own here in Philadelphia, it's that we, Benchmark, have not and will not shy away from sustained excellence. We have a long and storied past, and together we will lean into innovative ways to think, to teach, to actively pursue equity and justice, and to continue to transform the lives of young learners.
We will endeavor to sustain the excellence that has permeated everything about this community for the last 50 years. Benchmark is the preeminent day school in the nation that serves students who learn differently. And we will continually remind this Pennsylvania community and the country all over together. Thank you, and remember to always look up. And now I know we have a few students in the classrooms who have some questions for me. I love getting to know students, and I hope to certainly meet each one of you soon if I haven't already.
What's it like being head of school?
Well, I am still very new, so there's a lot I've yet to learn, Simone. You were one of the first students I met when I got here this summer. But now that all the students are back in the building, I'm just very excited to be in this role every day and looking forward to meeting all of you. Thanks for the question.
Bye.
Hi. The next question is from Alex in Miss Arabia's class.
My question is, what's your favorite color?
There is a color right behind your head that is my favorite. It's blue. It's always been blue. Now we'll call it benchmark blue. But right now I'm tending to lean toward green. As I mentioned the Celtics earlier, they are green, so I'm holding that one tight for a few weeks, but benchmark blue through and through. Thanks, Alex. Great question. The next question comes from Cassie in Mrs. Scott's class. Cassie, are you there?
What was your favorite subject in school?
Favorite subject in school? That changed quite a bit. I think when I was your age, it was reading. Then when I got up into the later years in middle school, it became math. And then I think in high school, it was very much history. Understanding the past really helped me to understand the present, and I think gave me a chance to explore some cultures that I knew, some cultures that I didn't. So that sort of cross-cultural learning I found really valuable when I got to high school. So lots of favorite subjects, but right now history. Thanks. And the next question is from Ben in Mrs. Templeton's class. Well, Ben wrote down his question for me, so I will read it. It's a great question. It says, will we be able to meet Winnie someday? Yes, indeed. In fact, some of you already have. You have had a chance to see her out in the front yard. If you have a class in front of the Stone House or down by the kickball field, you'll probably see her running around, but she will be all over campus in the coming days. And our last question is from Marco in Miss Scalia's 8th grade class. Hey, Marco.
So, hi, I have a question. So what is your favorite sport, and will you be playing in the teacher versus student basketball and soccer games?
Oh, very important questions. We'll start with the latter. Yes, I will absolutely play in those games. I'm looking forward to it. I'm a much better basketball player than I am soccer player. So you'll be able to take advantage of me on the field. In fact, when I was young, I once got stuck in a soccer net as a goalie. I had to be untied by the coaches in my family. So I learned that that was not my sport pretty early on. But I'm looking forward to it. Your first part was my favorite sport, baseball. Always baseball. Love it. And in fact, the town that I just moved from, I used to live in a town right next to it called Ware, Massachusetts. And it's largely credited for having a person there who invented the curveball. So back in the late 19th century, a guy named Candy Cummings was from Ware, Massachusetts. And I have an original newspaper article about the curveball being invented. And if you ever come up to my office, you'll be able to see it. Great questions, Marco. Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, thanks for those great questions. I am just so fortunate to be here, and now I'm going to turn it back over to Amy.
Thank you, Chris and Benchmark students. Those were great questions. Now we have two very special guests who would like to say a few words. You'll see these two on campus often. It sounds like you already have, and they are eager to get to know all of you.
Hello, friends and families of Benchmark. I am so thrilled to have this opportunity to formally introduce myself. Chris and I first learned that we would be joining Benchmark in December of last year, and while a lot has certainly changed since then, our enthusiasm remains strong, and I think that now more than ever, we're grateful to be able to grow our young family alongside a community of such thoughtful and warm individuals. The welcome that we've received to date has far exceeded our expectations and has put our mind at ease during a time of transition. Some of the kindest gestures we have received have come with the addition of our newest family member, Winnie. Winnie, thanks to the Benchmark community, has more toys than she probably knows what to do with, and I know she is eager to meet everyone. We went on our first walk today with students being on campus, and she wanted to say hi to all of you. So hopefully with time, she and I will meet every single one of you. We can't wait. Chris, Winnie, and I are proud of you. We love you, and we're excited to go on this journey with you.
We have another surprise to share with Mr. Hancock. Benchmark students shared the titles of their favorite books, and we have them here as a gift for Mr. Hancock. Each of these books was chosen by a Benchmark student, and their names are written inside the front cover. These books will reside in Mr. Hancock's office, and when students visit Mr. Hancock, they can find the books they've chosen. Happy reading, Mr. Hancock.
Thank you. That was very thoughtful, and I can't wait to see them lining my office. Now I'd like to introduce our school song, the Benchmark Anthem, which was written last year in the spring by Mrs. Hancock and the class of 2020. I think you'll see some familiar faces in this video, so let's check that out.
Hi, I'm going to play the Benchmark song for you. Here we go.
We are indeed proud to call Benchmark our school, and we are proud to call Mr. Chris Hancock our head of school. Mr. Hancock, it's been an honor to celebrate with you today, and we look forward to your leadership of this wonderful school. To all of you who have joined us today, thank you. We offer many thanks for taking time to celebrate. Take care and stay safe.